All right. We have
Um,
the session recorded.
and also, it is the 3rd of March, 2024, and it's the No Core edition of the Developer Weekly Call. And I maybe want to start with you, Nemanja, introducing yourself, and then if the Ruan team, the Ruan student team, just wants to grab after Nemanja and introduce that, that works.
All right. So in that case, I'll be quick. Hi, everybody. My name is Nemanja. I'm joining the Gno.land team as technical project manager. So there's a lot of fantastic people already on board, and my role there is to help them have better clarity and better conviction in our roadmap, and ideally remove any noise and help other teams be more clear about what we do and how we're going to do it. Super short version. Thank you.
Welcome. So actually, I think now, if we include the Ruan students, there are more French folk than. Well, actually, I don't know if all the Ruan students are from France. Anyway, maybe we start with you, Theo, if you want to quickly introduce yourself. Or if not, that's also okay. No one has to. Okay, maybe.
Yeah. Sorry, 1 second. I just have a problem.
That's okay. Maybe over then if you can't. Zach, if you want to grab it and say hi.
Maybe you just skip it and leave it to the end because we're going to run out of time here.
Yep, that sounds good. So I will hand it over to you, John, and I will start screen sharing, and we can kick it off with the call.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Nemanja, nice to meet you and welcome to the team. I know you're definitely going to be well welcomed here. We have a lot of work to do, so great. Looks like we have a very packed agenda, so we'll try to keep this as quick as possible if you guys don't mind, just to make sure we can get through all of this because there's a ton here, just skimming it. But I guess we can start off at the top once the screen is shared. So we have a new team manager. He just introduced himself. Most recently, some of the call outs, this is in section 1 for those who are following along. We've changed the verbose flag, and Morgan will probably speak a little bit more about this. But essentially, we've removed the dash verbose flag and changed it to a dash V, so a short flag. That was big. Pull requests 1738. Let's see, backwards incompatible applies to. Yeah, I'm not sure about this in red. Morgan, if you want to speak on it.
Just we added the dash V flag, and that substitutes like the verbose flag, which means that if you did use like dash verbose in any of your scripts, that you will need to change the scripts because otherwise it will just throw the error like showing the usage of the Gno command. But it should be pretty straightforward, and I think we all agree on the benefits of not having to type 5 extra characters when they're not needed.
Nice, cool. Okay, next point. Gno precompile is now Gno transpile. Morgan, this might also be you as well, but it seems like just a naming convention change.
Yeah, it's just to better communicate what it's actually doing. If you don't know what it is, it's a tool to convert GNO code into Go source code, mostly changing the imports that it uses. I wanted to do this for a while because it better communicates what the tool is actually doing, but that's about it.
Nice. Okay, and then I think next here is GNOdev, which I believe is Guillem. And for those of you who don't know, GNOdev works similar like to NodeMon and some of these other kind of like little daemons that are watching for changes in the file system, and then we'll reload the page to make your development a little bit easier. So you can touch on that if you'd like. Otherwise, it's pretty straightforward. It looks like just
Yeah,
That's not
this
my
PR
view.
this PR specifically adds auto reloading. So if you have the browser open, it will automatically refresh once the node has restarted. But that's about it.
Nice. Cool. Yeah, so recently the DevRel team, Leon here, has added sorting to the Gno blog. So now when we look on the blog, which is Gno.land, Gno.land blog slug, then all the posts will be sorted, which is really nice for readability. Okay. Next here is our demo users. I guess this has been split into multiple packages. And I don't know a whole lot about this, but if someone would like,
It's just Harry, if you want to take this, please speak up. But this just splits RDMO users into PDMO users. I thought to mention this in the high-level updates because this breaks some existing code. The reason why we had to do this is that we want to forbid importing realms from packages, and this was one of the sort of big outliers, which was being heavily imported by in other circumstances. So if you have any code which sits within P that is calling RDMO users, you will likely need to change that.
cool. Okay, next section here is talking about the GNOBug subcommand, and looks like it will open up an issue page in your browser as along with the debugging context. That's pretty sweet. Oh, there's a video too. GNOBug. Oh, cool. Hi, Jeff. Go ahead.
Hi. On the previous thing, I was interested that in our demo users, when you get the user struct, the name, you can just access the field directly. And of course, if you try to change it from another realm, it complains that this object belongs to our demo user realm and you can't change it. Maybe this is a stupid Go question, but is this a unique feature of GNO, sort of access control to an object?
It is specific to GNO, yes. And it's not clearly specified how this works, alas. There is like I cannot point you to a document which says exactly like how realm ownership works. It is something we want to work on and improve in terms of documentation.
Okay, because I'm always thinking about surprising things for normal Go developers, and this is surprising behavior. So I'm not saying it's a problem. I just, I'm imagining at some point there'll be a document which is these things will surprise you. Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, that's a good point, Jeff. Maybe that's something we can add to like effective GNO, like a section specifically. But
or maybe the X for Y.
yeah, because it will be really important to know the differences. Yeah, so that's a good point. I'll make a note. Okay, so GNOBug, I guess nothing else to discuss on that. And now we'll get into what is planned for the next 2 weeks. Transpiler is getting a boost.
Yeah, let me touch on this quickly as these are mine. So I've over the course of the past week, I've done some heavy work on the transpiler, aside from renaming it. And the sort of the most important parts are that the type checking that is currently being done by performing the transpilation and then checking the code with go-fmt or go-build. That's being removed from the transpiler package, and this is in favor of having a new type checking system which uses Go's type checker. Just to be clear, type checking does not just refer to you're using the correct type here. It also catches like a variety of compile time errors, including, like, for instance, not having a return statement at the end of a function. In general, like, everything that is not just a parser error is like an error further down the compilation process. But essentially, it ensures that if you were to pass this code to the Go compiler would accept it, which is, and by extension also the GNO interpreter will accept it, although the GNO interpreter will accept more than it's supposed to right now. So this guards against that. Together with that, we're moving the type checking stage from being something which is performed exclusively client side. So those who have used GNOkey or the GNO client might probably know that right now, if you want to use them, you actually need to have GoFMT installed on the machine you're using them in order to perform the type check. With the series of PRs that are being added here, that will no longer be a requirement, and instead everything can be type checked directly by the server. Instead, like, the type checking is being added back on the client side with the Gno.land comment. Gno.land works both like as a standalone comment, but it is also like one of the few comments that is actually already integrated with some editors. Most notably because Gno.ls, GNO language server, uses this. Gno.ls will likely require some updates, which including because precompile has been changed to transpile, but so we'll likely fork it at some point over the next, I don't know, month. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. So yeah, this is better for GNO client, GNOkey. Yeah, and eventually, on the transpiler refactor, we'll also get to the point where you can transpile all the GNO standard libraries, which essentially means we can have more standard libraries which do not exist in Go. We're already starting to add them, and one of them is like math/overflow. More on that later. But currently, if you try to upload them on chain, that wouldn't, like, if you tried to use them on chain on a package or realm, that wouldn't work because of transpilation and whatever. And with adding this step, it means that we can effectively use these new standard libraries. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That was a bit long, but if you do have any more questions, feel free to reach out or speak up now.
Okay. It seems like you might be up again, Morgan, because this is talking about after the decision, much deliberation on the naming conventions for Prev Realm and assert origin call.
Yeah, not much to say about this. There's the context to all the decision on the comment being linked. There's a couple of PRs by Thomas which are implementing the behavior that we decided on.
Cool. Okay, and then it looks like last bit here is that we're implementing versioning on Gno.land and what that might look like. I'm guessing that's kind of like a proxy pattern. Maybe Harium could speak on that, or how does that work exactly?
Oh, wait a second. Actually, the idea is to follow the same convention as Go. So this PR utilizes the node.mod file to define the version of the module or package. And you can also define the version of the dependencies as well. Like, it's a simple PR. Like, if you want to test, you can use the version.txt file to test it out.
Sweet. Okay. It's still open. Okay. Yeah, and then last bit here for this section is you might have heard much about the Faucet Hub. It's a long anticipated, basically more resilient faucet and more robust. Offers more than just our own test nets, funds from our own test nets rather. So the way that this is going to work, without spending too much time on it, is that there will be a JSON file that then other teams can essentially configure their own and then upload that JSON file, and the UI will be able to interpret this file, and so we'll be able to support a lot of different token standards, or tokens from multiple chains with this one JSON file. So hopefully that kind of helps make sense of that. But there's going to be, like, I think what the only thing we're waiting for here now is the UI needs to be hooked up to the backend. And so in order to do that, we have to finalize the standards of what these APIs will look like for the front end to be able to communicate. But we're hoping that by the end of next week, we should have like a working MVP to test. Milos, if you want to speak a little bit more about that, otherwise we can kind of move on. But you were looking into the standards.
Yeah, just a quick note. We should be finishing the standards for each testnet today. The only thing that's left is the UI, which I'm hoping is going to be live by next week. So the initial version of the Faucet Hub is just going to have our own per loop. But if you're somebody who's running your own GNO testnet, you can just open a PR and submit your own configuration for your faucet, and it's just automatically added to the UI as soon as the PR is merged. So just stay tuned for that. I'm not sure if we've shown the designs, but if we haven't, I would keep them as a surprise because it looks very sleek. It's probably one of the sleekest faucet designs I've ever seen, honestly. And stay tuned for that. We should be releasing that by the end of next week.
Cool. Yeah, Adar's not on the call, but he deserves a lot of the props for the design. Cool. So yeah, we'll move into section 2 here, which is more about Gno.land. I guess the faucet could have been touched on there in this section, but we got ahead of it. So what's new? It looks like Gno client now accepts multiple message run arguments. This might have been from Leon. Yes. Feel free to jump in and touch on it if you want, Leon.
Yeah, this is a relatively old PR. This is just, I think everybody, most people know this. Probably Jeff, I think this is like one of the things you guys are using. It's just modifying the run to include multiple messages in the same transaction. That's it.
Yeah, like we did with call and with send.
Yep.
We will update GNO native kit to this. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's basically, I think we're covering all of the messages right now. So we have coverage for both call, add package, run, and send as well. And all of them support both single messages and multiple messages in single transactions. So yeah, that's a short overview.
Okay. Second point here has to do with load package. This looks like Gillum.
Yes, we modify Textar, but for now it just is most internally. Since we use only this internally, it's now loading. We need to specify load package to load specifically the package you use in the realm you use in the test script. This change compared to before, where everything was loaded directly into Textar. This helps to isolate test script. Yeah, not about it.
So it's like a manual.
Yeah, you have two choices. Either you specify it into GNOME mode into your Textar, or you specify it with load package at the top of the file. Which will recursively load every dependency based on the GNOME mode you want to load. So with a special command which is load package all, which will load everything. But I strongly don't recommend. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. Sounds useful. Now, next point here is, let's see. Yeah, this was a nice. I don't know if he's on the call actually. Let's see. Grepzet. No, doesn't look like. Anyway, it looks like grep Suzette introduced just basically some regex error messages. So like they'll catch here. Let's see.
Oh, he's here.
Yeah, he is
He
here.
is?
I
Oh,
don't know if
sweet.
you want to talk.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're Tony Almada. Yeah. You're welcome to speak if you'd like. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a better error message, nothing more. But it might be useful for people who have a failing add package. So that's it. It's very simple.
Yeah, thank you. More context to the error message. Awesome. Thank you for that. Okay, next point here is the portal loops deployment. Just continually gets improved, which is the whole point of the portal loop. It's just meant to be a continuously evolving, updating, hopefully improving blockchain that we're using all the time. So let's see, in this case, 1400, the pull request does, looks like infrastructure.
Yeah, this is, I just linked to that for those who are curious. And if you're an infrastructure nerd, you're welcome to check out the files and point out to Albert where he's made mistakes. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, so it's all hooked up through CI and CD, it looks like. So it'll be a continuous redeployment on every merge.
It's one of those PRs I thought we merged 2 months ago, but it's still up.
But I'm wondering like what this PR actually is, because Portal Loop is working right now and it's resetting on every master. I mean, not resetting, but it's refreshing and loading the masters, the master changes.
It's the infrastructure files, and you know, Albert's still working on them, so he's he's just pushing up the updates. But you know, these are just, you know, the baseline files which are needed to load the portal loop over and over.
And it updates Docker, it looks like. Yeah, there are a lot of Docker files. Okay, Albert's not here though, is he? No. No. Okay. Planned in the next 2 weeks. Okay, so auto counter looks like a, what is this, a daemon? Yeah, helps us monitor uptime. Oh, this is also Albert.
Yeah, just just more updates on the portal loop. This one is a monitoring realm thing, which allows to make sure that the portal loop is up and running and refreshing when it's supposed to.
Nice. Okay, 1568. Oh, cool. I wonder if Dylan's here to talk about the Oracle. Yeah, he is. If you don't mind.
Not too much to say right now. I mean, thanks to Morgan and Antonio for putting in their reviews on that. And I have to make some code changes to to address some of the good points that they made with that. But it's meant to be just a it's meant to be just a like a very simple thing that first is going to be used for verifying you know, GitHub realm or rather GitHub handles with like GNO addresses for our own internal use, and then maybe eventually we'll grow into something more. But, yeah.
Nice. Okay. Thanks, Dylan. Let's see, 1622 here. Additional configuration flags, kill him. Max gas, no replay.
This one haven't been merged. Should be merged really soon. It simply add like some flag to actually put this like a server. I mean, like configure the port, max case. What else? Don't remember which was the last one. But yeah, yes, just have some flag to know them, which will be really useful.
That max gas, is that a cap or is that just a like a default value?
The default value was too low actually. Jeff ping me on this, so you can configure it now. I changed also the default value to be really, really high, so you don't have a problem by default. But yeah.
Cool. Okay. Sweet. Let's see next. Sorting mem package files. Oh yeah, this one's a little bit old, but basically this is mine. I guess I could speak on it just briefly, but yeah, this is a little bit old, but essentially when packages get loaded during the add package event, the way that they're processed, we want to make sure that the virtual machine processes these files in the correct order every single time, and that this order is the same that Go programmers might know as well, like lexically. So it would be basically alphabetical, and it wouldn't just be like some random order. So the proposed fix was to basically just add a sort little mechanism, but the conversation has evolved because we're trying to figure out exactly where it should go. And so it's been a couple iterations, and now we've rested on the fact that it should possibly go in Tendermint 2. And I think this is the right place after hearing the last time we spoke about this, Morgan. But right now it's still up for review to make sure that everything is correct. And this all lives within the validate method of the mem package. So nothing on that until that gets merged. Moving on to the Gno.land config allows you to modify the configuration of a Gno.land node that's running. Okay, this is Milos.
Yeah, just a simple PR that allows you to configure the config toml. Instead of manually configuring it, you can now use a command suite to either view different fields you set, or set the different fields. For example, you want to change the RPC configuration, or you want to change the block time, or you want to change your listen address, for example. Like, this is a pretty common use case. So now, instead of basically the flow we have now is you run the node, but you stop it, and then you change the config, then you run the node again. This PR allows you to generate the configuration before even running the node, set what you want to set, and then when you run the node, you just give it the configuration, and it runs everything, right?
That's great.
Yeah, just one of the building blocks that we're going towards, where you essentially would need 2 commands to run a blockchain node, instead of right now it's like 1 command, but you can't configure anything, which is useless. After this, it's going to be basically 2 commands, and you can configure practically everything you want.
Yeah, when you say you couldn't configure anything, is that because it's hard coded?
No. It's just you would need to manually grep or do like a find and replace for on the config toml, and you couldn't. Yeah, and the other problem was parts of the configuration were hard coded. So if you, for example, move the configuration out of the default folder, like everything would break. Yeah. So this kind of alleviates that.
Nice. Welcome optimization. Sweet. Okay, and then last bit here are just some small cosmetic updates to the Gno.land website. I think this had to do with the marketing team's requests, but Leon, you could speak on those. I think most of those are yours, if you want.
Yep. So yeah, there were just a couple of updates to the Gno.land website. If you guys go and check it out, maybe Michelle, you wanna load just Gno.land. we just move stuff around a little bit. So right now the head, like the intro section is a little bit updated. The playground section was added there. Some of the links, if you go up a little bit, you see these learn about GNO, build with GNO, and explore the universe. These have been updated a little bit. Like all of the links work properly now. As you can see, the portal loop was added there. Testnet 4 is like upcoming. There's a GNO dev. There's playground linked. For example, the blog also was fixed, as you saw in the other PR. Some of these things were added. This page needs to be needs some more updating to add everybody from the ecosystem. But yeah, that's about it. There was just a couple of these changes, and then one more thing. I'm sorry. Maybe it's a good time to mention. So if you just go back to the Gno.land page and just go to the events, is like below. So learn about Gno.land, or there. Yeah, that works. So we're attending a couple of events soon. So we're gonna have GopherCon EU, GopherCon US, and then Nebular Summit, which are confirmed for now. And then we're gonna be doing some more stuff definitely. So that's just a heads up for everyone who plans to attend any of these. We'll be there.
Cool. Thanks, Leon. All right, 3 more sections, 20 minutes. We can try to do it. DAOs and economics. Michael, if this might be you.
Yeah, I can be quick here too, just to save time. So, yeah, in a nutshell, the first thing, I posted a little bit about it in the tokenomics channel, but Flipando, Dragis's project, we put together a bit of an analysis dashboard for that to simulate a bunch of different scenarios, sensitivity analysis, and just kind of cool economic experiments. It is like a deceptively fascinating project about self-contained value capture and about essentially using a token that is minted to create an NFT that is then only used to buy those NFTs, like how much value can kind of be self-contained in a closed loop system. And it's been a lot of fun to work on, kind of layer by layer here. Lots of individual models and simulations working together for it. So I will be posting that on Hackerspace today is the plan. It's a handful of different graphs and variables to change and things of that nature. So that should be fun to play around with. We'll make sure that we share any observations there. And then, of course, in the meantime, he has the Flipando site up if you want to play it. GovGen just launched, of course. I'm sure all of us were very aware of that. So attention in terms of the other side of things is shifting back towards Atom 1 and its possible distribution. So I'm still planning on getting analysis dashboard similar to the Flipando one up for Atom 1. I know that the first distribution proposals are going up soon, and basically what I'm posting will just allow coders and non-coders alike to change the multipliers, change the parameters, etc., and see how that could potentially impact the Atom 1 distribution. So just to help with that discussion, Game of Realms system and profile review. So I know that I'm going to be meeting with Morgan and John and a handful of others this week. I think I need to actually renew my GitHub token for it, come to think of it. But the profile system, essentially, as soon as anybody, this will be helpful for after mainnet. Once anybody contributes to our GitHub, it will scrape basic information about it. It'll timestamp when they started their contribution, when they submitted it for review, when it was eventually merged, if it is ever merged, just to give a basic running profile for everybody. Make sure everybody has a standardized profile format. Stuff like a blank resume file so that they're able to fill in additional info besides what the profile says, notable contributions, things of that nature. That'll be, it's already posted, but we'll be posting it on the main repo and trying to set it up for cross repo functionality here over the next week. And we're going to be kind of finishing talking through all of that before initially presenting some proposed changes for Game of Realms and how we think we can fully revamp that project and essentially relaunch it at a convention and have it as good as new is the game plan here. So quite a bit of work has been going on with that in the background. Then finalizing articles with marketing. You know, lots of more concise documentation coming out, everything from tokenomics and proof of contribution and how we expect different aspects to work, both pre and post launch. So lots of that's going on here, lots of bouncing ideas back and forth and editing and legal reviews as a result of that. Also, I have finished a OFAC sanctions checklist. So OFAC is the Office of Foreign Asset Control. Essentially, we're able to ensure, as part of our initial kind of anti-money laundering, know your customer process, make sure that there is no one on the sanctions list, just to give us that little bit extra clean bill of health. This was originally used for the Gno.land launch, but I figure this will be helpful for just about every launch. Pretty simple handful of scripts, but pretty useful nonetheless. Interestingly, there is not even a single Cosmos address that has ever been sanctioned by the US government to this point. So at least when it comes to Cosmos addresses, that is makes things a lot easier than it could otherwise be. So that was very interesting to learn. Plan for the next 2 weeks. So we just had a new grant submission accepted. Phil H. He was working on Mangrove DAO. Essentially, he's going to be coming over. I'm getting him up to speed currently on all of the current tokenomics work, all the current models, and ideas and research that have kind of swirled around related to that. And he will be kind of just putting together best practices based on that, some of his observations on different ways to classify and quantify effort and you know, the different tasks, how much each task is worth. This is more related to pre-launch, post-launch. We will be evaluating more entire bodies of work versus individual contributions, but everything from security ratings to video game tiers to everything in between. Kind of a cool overarching review of how things with tons of different variability are classified in a hierarchical structure. And he'll be putting a paper together on that for us over time, working with me to make sure that that matches what we're working on here. I already said Game of Realms we're going to be presenting here. That includes the automated profile system. That includes a standardized grading rubric we're putting together. Possibility of having some of the tasks as straight bounties as opposed to more competition style with the leaderboard and final lump sum paid. So lots to go into there. Just to keep that as straight as possible. We'll wait until we can present that in a structured way, kind of start to finish with everybody. Also similarly mentioned the Atom 1 analysis dashboard. I will be posting that on the Atom 1 GitHub this week, similar to me posting the Flipando one on Hackerspace, hopefully today. Legal reviews continue for all of our projects. That's typically at least a once a week ordeal now. Getting in a pretty good flow with that to make sure everything we're working on dots all the I's and crosses all the T's. And then I'm continuing to work a bit with Dylan and Ray, helping Dylan in whatever I can with kind of auxiliary Oracle tasks, or at least just bouncing ideas around, going through kind of clarifying the Gno airdrop, making sure that all works out how we have been told so far, making sure the simulations of that exclude any addresses that or aggregate addresses like the bonding address that's simply just tallying a bunch of Atom that already shows up in a bunch of other addresses. It's just a cumulative total opposed to its own Atom. So making sure we have the cleanest scripting and everything we can in terms of what the final Gno airdrop will look like. And then they are continuing their fee and gas benchmarking. Fee and gas likely largely revolving around CPU cycles needed and time required to process it. Once that's done, I will be finalizing the fee and gas equation. I will be finalizing a fee estimation equation for users, so Birdie can integrate that into some of their mobile development and just in general, so we have that ready to go once we launch. And we'll be kind of finishing some analysis based on their benchmarking data. And that's it for this week.
Awesome. Thank you, Michael. Moving into section 4 with the VM and Gno. Let's see quickly.
I'll take it. Shall I?
Yeah, thanks.
Just yeah, I think I added pretty much all of these items anyway. So fix. Okay, so the first one, thanks to Devas from OnBlock, we now you can now store maps within realms. This has been something which has long not been possible. The fix for it was existing for quite a while, but you were waiting to merge this and in order to have a sort of functioning integration test system. As you may or may not know, we now have that through ATXTAR, and so the PR was updated, and it could now be merged, and that's finally been done. Although I should note that maps are still not ideal as a way to store data, simply because when you load something from a map from like a global variable within a realm, the entire map is loaded into memory. The AVL tree in this regard is still a much more efficient data structure to use, which will only sort of load the log n of that. So it doesn't need to load everything. And there is still a proposal to make the default behavior of the map more efficient than it currently is. Next up, there's an update which was a sort of code refactor around TM2, but with the sort of direct sort of consequence meant to be for the Gno binary. Now the Gno binary doesn't need Go level DB anymore, which means that it's around megabytes smaller in size, which is not much, but it's kind of like, you know, these things you cannot tackle all at once anyway. So reducing the binary size has a bit of importance, mostly for the playground, which downloads an entire wasm compiled binary of the Gno command. So every megabyte saved is one less megabyte that has to be saved from that has to be downloaded from the user. Cool. What's next? Yeah, the Croc432 package has been merged. This one simply is to create like an idiomatic way to generate IDs in Gno. So if you're sort of generating them, I think this relates to both the work that Bertie and Dragos with Flipundo have been doing. You can now use the sec ID package, which you know, is a small wrapper around incrementing an integer as a global variable, but it additionally has like a few helper methods that can help you put the generated integers as a string within an AVL tree. You can either encode it as binary, or you can encode it with the Croc432 format, which is still sort of sorts perfectly, and it has nice human readable IDs, which you can use. And left links in the agenda to check out more on that. Next up is a bug which was fixed by Dylan. Essentially, it was like the time standard library you know, had used some code in a weird way, which caused a panic within the Gno VM. This was quite tricky to figure out, and Dylan so always does a wonderful job of fixing these things. So yeah, you can now more safely use the time package without fearing a bug, and this was mostly causing an issue within the blog realm. Next up, we have other fixes to the transpile comment. This is aside from the work I've been doing, which I already talked about earlier. Essentially, what this does is that it will now actually report correctly the line number on which an error occurs, referencing directly the original Gno source. Again, this is mostly useful if you're using the precompile/transpile tool to help you out in conjunction with Gno.ls. Next up, thanks to Jin from Monblog, the standard library whitelist has been updated. Though thankfully with the new transpiler reorganization, the standard library whitelist has now been destroyed, so we won't this thing won't exist in a couple of weeks, hopefully. Next up, talking about what's in the works for the next few weeks. There are several bug fixes which have been made by Dylan and Maxwell, which are currently in the reviewing pipeline. These take a while to review because just making sure that they're doing what they intend to do. But they take several behaviors which are currently not working in the GNO VM. Leon added a new standard library, which is a math / overflow. This has mostly been added so it can be used within the STD standard library with coins. So what the reason why it's there essentially, this library essentially adds a way to do arithmetic, ensuring that no overflow happens, right? This, of course, is mostly important in instances where you're, for instance, counting money, where you don't want to go from having, 4 billion tokens to having 0 in just one increment, or worse, going from 0 to 4 billion. So this is welcome addition to the standard library, which makes a lot of sense for a use case. And we'll probably be merging it again in the next couple of weeks. We're still also reviewing the interactive GNO VM debugger developed by Mark. We're also reviewing Maxwell's PR on GNO type check. I'm sorry if I didn't call out anyone on this one, but seeing as there's 5 minutes left, I thought to speed this up so we can get to Tendermint 2.
Nice, thanks, Morgan. Okay, Tendermint 2, section 5. I don't know who most of this is.
Milos, I suggest.
Yeah.
One sec. Yeah. So what is new? No code has been merged again, but we've been cooking. This is actually very true. We have a few PRs that are in draft, and an entire repository that's kind of in the shadows until we release it. Most likely by the end of the week or next week. Internal GNO key security audit in progress, looking good so far. Christoph, if you have a point for this.
Nope, that's the headline.
No, okay, cool. Okay, yeah, what's planned for the next 2 weeks? So I internally developed a GraphQL API for our indexer, which works amazing, as you can see from the demos. So now, instead of having to rely on the few endpoints that we actually exposed for the indexer, which you can use to fetch like blocks and transaction results, or subscribe to, subscribe for different results, you can now actually use a GraphQL query that works with subscriptions, which is kind of mind-boggling. I've actually never seen this done for any blockchain node, at least like not this elegantly. So this is a huge UX improvement for the indexer that we have, and something that I'm really hoping that we're going to translate out into the main Tendermint node. In terms of other updates, if we can go back, yes. Let me just check. Yes, so we're adding an endpoint just to retrieve transaction results directly. This was mentioned on a few previous calls. It's essentially just a usability endpoint where you can, if you have the transaction hash, and you always have it, or you can generate it, you as somebody who's actually sending the transaction. Now you can use this transaction hash to fetch the transaction results from the node directly, so you don't need an indexer for this. The indexer just gives you much fancier functionality, like subscriptions or filtering and stuff like that, but the actual node now exposes an endpoint that you can call, and you can grab the results, so you can see whether or not your transaction succeeded or failed, or if it succeeded, why it succeeded, and it gives you like the return data if it didn't succeed, why it didn't succeed. It's just eliminating this middle step where you would need like a special indexer to actually get this kind of data. Okay, next one. So we're working on a rework of the Tendermint consensus engine. This sounds much scarier than it is. What we're basically doing is we're grabbing out the consensus engine code from Tendermint 2 and completely writing it from scratch. This is an effort that's being undertaken by me and Petar. We're in the final phases of it. So the current phase is we're adding just node chests, meaning we literally spin up clusters in memory and make sure everything works, even when there's like funny business or Byzantine nodes and stuff like that. It just makes the code much cleaner and much more stable. And the other major benefit that we have is it also is just like a huge open source community resource, meaning other projects that want to use a consensus engine and they don't want to use like Raft, they can now use this without having to bring along all of the baggage that you would usually have with Tendermint, which is, the mempool or the networking module or, this like entire block building process or ABCI, right? Like right now you can just import this as library and use it for your project for whatever kind of consensus needs you actually have in your distributed system. And I know a lot of blockchains outside of Cosmos actually use this for their consensus engine implementation. Tendermint, of course. So this is going to be just huge and just increasing the open source treasure that we have. And finally, let me see. Also considering removing alternative. Yeah, so we're considering removing support for alternative databases. Part of the reason is we actually always use one, and the one that we use is kind of optimized, and we know it works. The other ones, I need to quote Morgan for this, is they work so great we didn't know they weren't building. So we're just contemplating removing all of the other database implementations and just using LevelDB, because if we use LevelDB, then we can optimize it. And if you're skeptical about this, I was skeptical as well until Antonio showed me the dark side of optimizing specific database implementations, and now we have an indexer that's running 30 times faster than it was before. So yeah, I became a believer. And the final point that we have is we're adding an option to disable the wall. In the consensus layer, I believe this is mostly used for situations where you don't need the write-ahead logger to restore functionality like NoDev. The primary use that we have for the write-ahead logger within the consensus layer is it's essentially saving the messages that you receive from the network, and it's replaying them when you start the node back up. So even if you crashed in the middle of your consensus process, you know exactly where you left off because you replayed like all of your messages, right? So yeah, this just adds a neat option for you to actually disable it. Unpopular opinion, we actually don't need the write-ahead logger at all, but this is a nice touch that we can actually disable it. And yeah, this was it for the Tendermint updates that we have. Everything is pretty much up in the air, nothing concrete, but a lot of stuff is coming soon, I promise.
Awesome. Thanks, Milos. Thanks, everyone. We made it, barely. I guess we have no time for Q&A, but if you have any Q&A, just throw it in the document there. And I don't know, for those who want to stay
or
over.
in Signal. Or in Signal.
Yeah, or Signal, probably better, but yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And welcome to all the students as well.
Yeah, I just saw in the chat, somebody asked if Athena is ever going to support Portal Loop, and the answer is yes. We're going to be supporting Portal Loop and testnet 4 in the upcoming releases. So, yep, just wanted to share that.
I'm sorry, in what way is it not already supporting? Like, can't you just add a custom network? So maybe I'm not understanding.
Like I meant as a default choice.
Got it. Actually, I'm glad you said that because I was wondering if like when you land on a page, sometimes there are these automatic wallet connections or automatic network connections. Do you know what I'm saying? It like automatically it configures the custom network for you so that you don't have to like automatically add it in, or you don't have to manually add it in.
Yeah, there's an API for that, so the app has to basically set it up.
Okay. But it's possible. There's a route. Okay. Sweet. Okay. Well, thanks everyone. We did it. Yeah. Ask on Signal, Tony. Thank you. Everybody else, we'll look forward to seeing you next week for the contributor edition, and then the week after for the core edition.
Thanks, everyone.
All right. See you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.